Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another exciting Halloween episode of This Is Our Life. This is for, if I remember correctly, Hillbillie Cabbie. You asked me if I remembered a particular name. Henderson, I believe, from Okinawa. No, I don't. I remember two names. It was a long time ago. Okay. I remember Cindy Duncan and her mother and her dad. I don't actually remember her brothers too well, um, but I don't remember her brothers' first names. Um, Her mom was Teacher Duncan. She was a nursery school teacher. And her dad was a West Pointer. I thought he was something he wasn't. Um, my dad outranked Mr. Duncan. My dad earned his rank. My dad didn't just go to college and get his rank. My dad started as a private in the infantry. My dad served in 3 wars. Mr. Duncan, I don't think, ever went to war. But anyway, so there were the Duncans, and there was Mr. Stanford. He was our chaplain on Okinawa. He's buried at Fort Sam Houston in San Antonio, Texas. Um, I went to his funeral. He and his wife retired to San Antonio. His wife has since passed away. Um, Actually, I think I either was working in or had recently stopped working in hospice when she passed away. But let's see. I don't know where you might have lived on the base or off base, but we lived from the elementary school. If you go east, there you would two streets, I think, 2 or 3 streets. Anyway, Cleveland was one of those streets, and that's east of the elementary school. To the north or northeast, there was a hill. Remember, that area was part of the Shuri-Naha line during World War II. So, of course, there was a lot you wanted to be careful for because there was still a lot of stuff left. Um, but let's see. I took piano lessons. You know, my dad was an officer, so because he was an officer, I was expected to do certain things. Yeah.
Okay.
If you can't hear, my wife's laughing over here. Um, I had
And
to
the
take,
guitar get along real fine.
yeah, I had to take piano lessons, and this is what I remember. And it was like one-on-one. I had to go boom, 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 boom. One key, right? Boom, 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 boom. I hated that. I was a little kid. Come on.
Like I taught you anything.
Yeah, I'm like, what was I gonna have to do that to each key before I actually move forward to doing something else?
Oh God.
Yeah. Um, that was now. I took piano lessons at a lady's house over to the west of the elementary school. That neighborhood that was to the west of the elementary school. Um, if you go on my Facebook page, you may not be able to see it because we've had some issues with some people that claim to be liberty activists, yet and they claim to be peaceful. Yet they're some of the most violent and vile people on,
Stupid.
yeah, and stupid people on the planet. I concur. Well, the judge tells this kid, well, you can sit there. I concur.
It's like you just want to hit him with a shovel.
Yeah, it's like, excuse me, that's not the right way to use that. It's not the right way to say that. You could say yes or yes, sir. When you speak to somebody who's your elder, you should say sir. Of course, now my wife and I are old enough that we don't have to say that to people.
Yeah.
But
Shut up, your old bat.
yeah, but anyway, so I had to change my. Well, actually, I started a new Facebook profile, and the privacy settings are such that it's a little more difficult for people I don't want to see stuff on my page to see it. So um, you can go to my Facebook page. You can try and find pictures from Okinawa, and you will if you can actually look at the pictures. There are pictures from Okinawa. One of my friends on Facebook, she worked, I don't know if she worked as a nurse or what her job was, but she worked at one of the hospitals that I went to while we were on Okinawa. And she also, interestingly enough, after Okinawa, worked at Madigan, which is where my dad died. But she worked there long, long before, well, actually, only like a decade before, maybe not even a decade before my dad went there and passed away. But for those who don't know, Madigan is, I don't know what it is today. I'm assuming it's still open. Madigan Army Hospital. It's not a VA hospital, it's an Army hospital in Washington State. Because my dad was from British Columbia, he was Canadian. Eh? Eh? I think my wife and others get tired of me saying eh,
Eh?
but you know, I am part Canadian. Okay,
You
back,
work on the house?
you know, and back to Okinawa. I took karate. Did I learn much? Not really. Um, Actually, I still think I have the uniform. I just don't have the patches anymore. And the uniform, I had no way I could fit in that uniform anymore. You know, the
Yeah,
pants
right.
are about, yay long, and
If you get your finger in a sleeve, maybe.
yeah, I still have the sweater. I believe I still have the sweater. You know, people. There was somebody was asking on one of the Okinawa Facebook pages, "What do you remember about winter?" Like, excuse me, but we didn't exactly have winter on Okinawa. But I do remember sometimes we would wear like a light windbreaker or a light. I mean, a windbreaker is a windbreaker, but we would wear a windbreaker, and I had a sweater. Sometimes I'd wear that. You might wear that in the morning or the evening. You wouldn't necessarily wear it all day. And it had Humpty Dumpty on it. And back then I was like, hey, I'm cool. I have Humpty Dumpty on my sweater. It tells you how old I was at the time, right? Um, and that wall where I told the story about how I got this scar on my hand, my longhorn scar, which nobody can see but me because I actually know where it is. But even I have a hard time seeing it now. Um, I used to think, Humpty Dumpty fell from that wall. Um, Again, that tells you how old I was back then. Now, I took karate at the elementary school gym at night. We would have it at night. And I remember some kids had climbed up into like the ceiling area of the gym. And, it was really, of course, when you're that young, it looks like it's a skyscraper, even though it wasn't quite that tall. But some kids fell.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, think
Yeah.
I think one may have been killed and a couple may have been hurt. Um, which at that age scared the living what out of me. I'm like, you
That's
know,
flat.
yeah, I'm like, I'm not going up there. Um, but I went to kindergarten, first and second grade at Machinato Elementary School, at Machinato Military Dependent Housing Area. Um, I started kindergarten in 1969. So I went to school from the 1960s to the 1980s. Actually, my wife did as well, but she started school before me and graduated before me.
Well, a little bit before.
Yeah, like a year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
68.
Yeah, a year. So, my goodness, one story I've been meaning to tell. I've told this story before, but it's been a while since I've told it. It was this friend of mine. Actually, before I get to that one, another friend of mine, or actually somebody in our neighborhood, I think he was like, he was an engineer or a pilot or something for one of the airlines, and they had built this brand new big old jet passenger plane. You have to remember, back in those days, people were still flying in propeller-driven aircraft. I mean, I flew from Penticton, British Columbia to Victoria, British Columbia in a DC-3, you know, and that was still considered a pretty modern aircraft, even though it was at the age that it was going out, but it was still, you know, these were still common aircraft. So, you know, this big brand new jetliner that they built, I don't know if he was a pilot, he was an engineer, if he worked for the company, what, but he had the model of one in his, or he had several models of those airplanes in his house, like on his desk. I remember one kid started a home library that kids in the neighborhood could borrow books from, because I don't remember having a library anywhere on Okinawa. Um, but anyway, what I was going to say.
Good to have two books to rub together.
Yeah. So, and now look at all the books.
Or it's school books.
You know. Yeah, that weren't school books. And I remember with some of the kids, this is when I lived on Cleveland Court, I'm talking about now. And we would play school, you know, and one of the kids would be teacher. And
I wonder where my brother's camp was at, where, according, because he was on Okinawa.
He was Air Force.
What part of the island he was on?
Was he at Kadena?
Yeah, he was Air Force.
Yeah, well, that was north of where we lived.
Oh, north.
Yeah.
The north end of the island?
No, just north of us. But we were south of being central. We were on the north side of Naha, which is roughly in the southern part of the central region. My wife's brother was in Vietnam, and he spent part of his time on Okinawa, which is pretty cool.
He was building the bombs.
Yeah, that they would drop on Vietnam. But anyway, one of my friends, they were, I don't know if they were Okinawan or Japanese, but they were Buddhist. And like I said, I've told this story before, but it's been a while. His parents had a little altar in their bedroom, and they had a bowl of rice in it.
Oh.
And I went and I ate some of the rice one day.
Uh-oh.
I was curious. What is rice that you give, you know, like in that fashion, taste like? Is it different than other rice? Of course, we ate a lot of rice. There was also this place.
I wonder how often they changed it.
No, I don't know. That's a good question.
How old is that rice?
Yeah. There was a.
The fly chokes to death on it.
There was this restaurant. It was sort of on stilts, and they had like gum and candy machines, and you get chiclets out of them. I always liked that. And that was off base. It was like it was for civilians of officer grade, and we took my cousin Larry there. When my cousin Larry came to visit, he had been working in Australia. He was from Canada. He's buried in Canada. He had served in the Canadian service, in the Canadian Navy at one point. Anyway, he had been working on oil rigs, or, you know, oil something in Australia. And he was on his way home, and he decided to stop by and see us. He brought me and my sister stuffed koalas, not real stuffed koalas, you know. And one was a baby koala, it had a wind up, and one was a mama koala. And I still had both of them until the fire, believe it or not. Although one of the dogs got mama koala, so I had her stuffing, which was cork. And, you know, I had the stuffing in a bag and had her skin in a bag. But baby koala was okay, although the music box inside didn't play anymore. You wonder what I'm doing over here. I'm moving the mouse so the screen doesn't go blank. I remember the, you know, when people would come on base and they would try to siphon gas,
Oh,
Yeah, my dad would get up, like, what the, he'd chase him down the road or
get the
something.
hell out of here.
Yeah, but
Probably
it,
the Okinawans, wasn't it?
yeah,
No, they were so
they were
poor.
poor, yeah. And how they survived the typhoons in those
Shacks.
shacks that they lived in, I just beyond my understanding. But our nursery school, it were Quonset huts. Um, my
So you
goodness,
go through a lot of hell.
yeah. Well, the nice thing about Quonset huts is everything goes right over. Of
Yeah.
course, you have the ends.
I lived in Springfield, Illinois, and a tornado went through, and it just like went right over the restaurant that was built in the Quonset hut.
See,
Just
that's
like
that's the nice thing about those things, and they're quick and easy to build.
it didn't damage it at all.
Yeah.
Just the roads getting to it was a mess.
So, and
But I
there,
think they did pick it up a little bit, make it easier.
there, there is a story, but this isn't gonna. I don't think this is gonna matter to anybody, because it's just something that I remember when we lived off base. I always preferred off base living, because then you're more of a local, so to speak.
Not such a pain in the butt.
Yeah, you don't have all the rules and regulations that you have to abide by on base. They come by once a week to check everybody's yard, make sure the grass isn't too tall. Yeah, it's like, anyway,
Now get out there with those scissors and cut it right now.
yeah. I remember the fire truck would come by with Santa Claus on the back. Easter egg hunts. There was this little playground when we lived on Cleveland Court, across from Cleveland Street, which Cleveland Court came off Cleveland. Or like a baseball or football field, American football, and but over there was a playground, and we would have like Easter egg hunts over there. And that's when my mother noticed that I was losing my hearing, because I was over there playing, and she was calling me, and I'm looking around, who's calling me? Or I could probably tell it was my mother, but I couldn't tell direction. And she said that's when she started to realize that I had hearing deficit. But
What was it, from colds or something?
from ear infections and the
Oh,
chicken pox getting it, I had to
oh,
scratch it into my ear.
goodness.
Yeah, I got ear infections really bad back then. So like as soon as I got over one, I got another one, and they were always bad. Anyway, when we lived off base,
There's one lady I worked with, her daughter was always getting strep throat.
ooh,
Yeah.
um, I was in my bed at night, and this guy comes in. Right? Did this happen? Was it just something that a kid comes?
Dreams.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. He brings it. You remember the old Tonka toys, the old Tonka trucks, and they're made out of metal. They were sturdy things. It was like a fire truck or something. And he said, "Now you can have this, but if you tell anybody that I was here, it will disappear." Well, I played with it for a little while. Then I went to my parents' room and I told them that some guy was in my room. Of course, they're freaking out, and they come in there, and the toy's gone. So, was I dreaming this? Because I know my dad had bought me one of those Tonka fire trucks. You could actually hook water up to it and it would spray.
Oh my.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I don't know if they still make things quite that good, but that was the 60s and 70s. But anyway,
Real metal? You was kidding.
yeah. You see a Tonka truck now, it's in like
Plastic.
yeah, it's made out of plastic, or if it's a metal one, it's,
You're paying a fortune for it.
yeah,
You're buying it off eBay.
yeah. So, there's some kids that live somewhere down on School Street, I guess. In the backyard, I don't know if it's still there, but it's like not a front end loader, a backhoe, but it's like for a little kid, like a toddler, and it has gears, so they can actually, work it like a real backhoe. It's pretty neat looking. But it's for, like I said, like a toddler or early elementary school age kid. I've never seen them play with it because the kids are always running around. Um, but tonight the Great Pumpkin comes. Watch out for the great pumpkin. But anyway, so I don't know if I have much more to say. I mean, there are so many memories and so many things that I could talk about, but um, I'll just leave it at that for now. I don't remember the name. I'm sorry. That doesn't mean I didn't know you, that you didn't know me, but it just means that was a long time ago. My goodness, 40, 45 years ago, more like 45 years ago, because I was, no, 40 something years ago. Because we moved to the United States in 1972. It was a big shock. You know, I mean, I had never seen a garbage disposal. I had never seen a trash compactor. And the people we were staying with, they had a trash compactor in their kitchen. They had a garbage disposal. I'm like, wow. You know, so
Really?
yeah, it was like, this is cool. What is it though? Why do you have it? What does it do? Anyway, I always wanted to, see what's down there, that garbage disposal. Yeah, but
There go the fingers.
but we moved to Alief, Texas, which was a little town back in the day. Now it's part of Houston. Now it's a horrible place, but back in the day, Alief was a pretty nice place. But anyway, I don't know what else to say. But bye.